Happy New Year, everyone. Let's talk January bass fishing. Now, it's not the best month, but you can still catch fish if you have open water with these baits. We'll talk about them now. Thanks for watching. We do these videos every month with the top baits for January. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, I have lived in Texas, where I live now. I've lived in Washington State. I've lived in Nevada and Florida. So basically all over the place. And all the stuff that I talk about, I try to keep it as general as possible to fit different regions. So there's a big difference. Again, I was looking through all my photos of January fishing. A lot of them are skewed with Florida fishing. Down there, it's whatever you want to use. You know, I talked about this in the December video as well. But I used to live down there, and then I spent 2 Januaries there in the last couple years, just because the fishing is so good in January. But for the rest of the world, it's a little bit different. You know, there's limited places where you could fish. If you're in Washington State, it's freezing up there, or anywhere in the north, it's freezing. But you can still catch fish if you have open water. Down here in Texas, it's still cold, but there's a kind of a limited techniques that you use. So with all that being said, that's kind of the disclaimer of how I came up with these. I'm gonna give you my top baits for January. These will help you catch fish if you have open water. The number one, in no particular order, would be a blade bait and a tail spinner. Now these two baits are metal. You know, they definitely don't look very realistic, but they put off tons and tons of vibration. So the blade bait, you lift it and drop it, you get that vibration as you lift it up, and then you let it fall back down. That's where a lot of your bites happen. These are great because they sink fast. You can fish them pretty much any depth you want to. Typically it's gonna be 20 feet or more. You know, this is a killer for me in Washington State, November, December, even January as well. Same thing with the tail spinner. You want to be able to lift it and drop it and get that thumping vibration from the blade and let it drop. And the cool thing about both these baits is obviously they catch bass, but you are going to catch all kinds of stuff if you throw this on a lake that has a lot of different fish. I could just rattle off tons of species that I've caught on these. All kinds of trout, perch, crappie, bluegill, pike, I mean, whatever is in there, walleye, whatever you have in the lake will eat these baits, which is kind of cool. I mean, at least you're catching something, but you can definitely catch bass with these two baits. Now, as far as sizes, you know, there's a lot of different sizes, a lot of colors. I would stick with something around 1/2 ounce. That's gonna help you cast out far, it's gonna sink fast, and everything else. You can fish them on both casting and spinning gear, but again, the key is let it hit to the bottom, lift it and drop and get that vibration. That's when the fish are attracted, and then they'll often bite it as it's falling on a slack line, so pay attention with that. The next bait you gotta have is a jerk bait. This is a perfect bait for cold water. I mean, you can use it any time of year, we've seen that, but it is great for right now, January. This is the Zoom Verno 115. It's got the flash boost technology in that. I just did a review of this a couple days ago, so take a look at that if you haven't seen the review, but I've really been liking this fall, and I'm gonna continue using it well into January and February because it catches fish. But really any jerkbait will work. I like this one that's a medium runner. This will get down about 10 feet or so you can reach those fish that are deeper, and they'll call those fish up from, you know, I'd say 20 and less. They'll come up and get it. The next one you gotta have is a crankbait, and this is something that you could use, you know, kind of a mid-range. You know, this is a medium runner. This will probably get about 8 or 10 feet, not super deep, not super shallow. There are still gonna be fish in that range, especially if they're coming up to eat. They will move up shallow on those flats, places like that, just to get a quick bite and go back out deep. So throwing a crankbait's a good way to do it, you know, targeting riprap, you know, points, whatever it is. The one thing about crankbaits is I like something that has a less aggressive action during this time of year. So I like a flat-sided bait. I also like a balsa bait. They're a little bit harder to cast, but the balsa action just really, it just appeals to fish in cold water, in my opinion. It's got a different float as it comes up. It's just a different action as well. So this is a PH Customs. I can't remember the exact name of this bait, but this is an awesome bait. It's kind of got that foil finish. Looks like a bluegill, whatever you want to say, a shad. It kind of does both. Okay, we've got a few more. I'm gonna have a jig head minnow. I've shown this same bait in so many videos, but this is a Raid fish roller. I also like the Jackall Drift Fry, the Depth Sock Amada shad. With forward-facing sonar, this is a perfect bait for fishing the month of January. But even if you don't have live scope or active target, cast it out and shake it around, you will catch fish, because this is a time of year when a lot of those fish are suspended, chasing bait, and this is one of the best ways to target those fish that are kind of hard to reach with a lot of other baits. You also have to have a swim bait. Again, I've showed this one in a lot of videos just because I've caught a lot of fish on it. You know, I throw the Keitech a lot, but this is the Crush City, the Mayor. This is the 3-inch bait, got it on just a basic ball head. It's great for casting out there and winding for suspended fish. And like the blade bait, you will catch everything on this. You know, white bass, you know, what crappie. I've caught all kinds of stuff on a little swim bait, trout when I was in Washington State, and of course, bass. One more that I really like, and I started using early last year, you know, wintertime, is the Berkley Power Switch. This is a forward-facing bait, but you can use it like anything else. You don't have to have it, but this is a great bait because it darts side to side, almost like the Rapala Ice Jig, which is another really good one for winter months. But it's a really cool bait. They come in a bunch of different sizes, has a really erratic action without really moving. You know, it doesn't go up and down as much. It just kind of goes all over the place, side to side. You know, it doesn't fall quickly. You could keep it in place. So it's a really unique bait idea, and it's great when you're watching those fish on forward facing, just twitching it, getting it to react, and getting those fish to react as well. And last but not least, this is probably number one. I said the other ones were, but inside of here is number one. This is a Alabama rig box from Tackle Warehouse. Really like this. It keeps them all organized in tubes like this, so they're not all over the place. But I'll pull one out and show you one of my favorite A-rigs. I mean, A-rig, like all these other baits, are great in the cold. They're great for suspended fish. They're great when those fish are chasing balls of bait. So yeah, this is why I like this, because even though I have a few in here, I can pull them out. Not too bad, right? I mean, a couple little hang-ups there, but I had 2 of them in there. So I use a lot of different A-rigs. I can't remember the brand of this one, honestly, but I like the ones that have blades on them. I also like the G-Funk rig because they're a little bit more camo color, if you will. You know, they have a lot of different options too. They have, you know, the Desert rig, which I used to use in Nevada because it only has 3 hooks, or 2 hooks, I should say. It's a great bait for keeping you legal, and the other ones you can put dummy heads on there. You can either cut off the hook and then just screw a bait on there, or they have these from Picasso. I think they're called like the Smart Mouth, but they're just little dummy heads that you put on there. So if your state doesn't allow 5 hooks, which a lot of states don't, you can put that on there and still catch fish with it. But I've caught a lot of big smallmouth, even in the cold, even in the snow, on an A-rig. It's a great technique that works all over the place. It's something I use a lot here in Texas. It's fun to fish, and you have a really good chance of catching big ones with an A-rig. So that is probably number one. It's not some magic lure. I mean, when it first came out it was, but the fish are used to seeing it, but during the winter it is still the way to catch a lot of fish, and big ones. So those are my top baits from January. Let me know, which ones am I missing? There's always baits out there that I like to hear about. You know, maybe I'm completely missing something, but these baits have served me well across the country in a lot of different states, a lot of different scenarios. So if you're still fishing in January, the water's not frozen, get out there and try these baits. Thanks for watching.